I am Poulomi Roy, and today I'm here with the Antonym, Bridge to Global Literature, and we are going to interview a poet from Holland. She's not only a poet, she does not just write poetry, she also couples her poems with into performing arts through music and through dance and through body language and movement. So that is something very unique and fresh. And without further ado, I'm really excited for this interview. So let me get you introduced to her. Could you tell us a little bit about your work, Carola?
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for your warm introduction and your really very kind words. Thank you so much, Poulomi. Well, you were asking about my work. The thing is, I grew up in a kind of oral community, the Indo community in Holland. We are rooted in Indonesia and mixed with different European countries. And the whole community, the whole family is living, well, like a lot of Indians, I suppose, in all over the world. So when I grew up, there were always letters, letter writing. There was no internet at that time. And those letters we shared. And I remember my parents reading loud letters. So there was always stories. Whenever the aunts and uncles and everyone came together, always stories, many stories at one time, right through each other, and with a lot of laughter. So all the time we were immersed in stories, and in as well written stories as speaking stories. So when I got a bit older, I started to write my letters as well myself, and out of that also I was starting to write little scraps of story out of not letters, but just for fun. Later in life, I got to know a group of writers which I was participating at that time, and we shared stories. So that was for me the first marking point when I put together scraps or write new ones into a real short story. So there was a lot of short story writing and sharing, which I enjoyed, up to the point when I was, I think, between 30, in my 30s, 40s, that I got a very busy job, a full-time job, and I got kids. So whenever we met in this group, I was not always able to have written something because no time. And somehow I have tried to think, because of your questions, when did it start and how did it start? But somehow it came up, it just popped up that because of no time issue, the poetry came up. It just popped up. It was like a seed was somewhere in my heart or so. And then I started to write poetry text, little poems. Next marking point in that case was that I met a very, very, very good friend of me in Uruguay. He's from Uruguay, but we met here. He's living here in Holland. And we hang out, at that time we hang out a lot together. And he introduced me to a Uruguayan poet, which we really dived into that poetry. And it was Mario Benedetti was the name, and the man writes poems in a very also natural way. It was just as telling stories, but a very, very interesting and intriguing balance, and a very it got to me. So that was my first time with him that we dived into poetry like this. Of course, I read some poetry from Dutch poets as well. And then I slowly, with a lot of hesitation and a lot of intensity, I asked my friend Alejandro, maybe shall I show you one of my poems? I was very hesitant because it was just writing in my maps. He says, yes, of course, come up with something. So I showed him, and his reaction on that was, oh, that's nice, show some more. That really, really opened the door. It was a big mark for me because that opened the door for streams of poetry. Not only what I had written here and there, but it started off a whole line of poems, which I always, which him as the one and only reader, really. So a few years later, he said, maybe I saw here a competition, an international poetry competition in Rotterdam. Maybe you should send in a poetry. So a lot of hesitation, but still we chose one of my poems and I sent it in, and I got this award, the International Poetry Award, from Dunja Global Rotterdam Festival.
Wow.
And so I won that, and I had was invited to recite it in public in a full tent. There was so all those little marking points. So I was writing letters. I was poetry writing with Alejandro. Then I sent it in, and then it was my first public show off with my poems. Because of that, because of this presentation in public, I got invited, and also I just jumped in different, a lot of literature, like cafes or literature events or literature festivals or whatever stages in which poets were invited to recite their poems. So
Right.
that started off another phase in my poetry life. Well, and then we're coming to this burning blood thing, because in the one that this was happening for years, and then I met some a visual artist to start with, and she said, would you like to cooperate to make a joint presentation and with her and a pianist. So we started slowly with this, and then that stopped, and I got another musician, and with him we had for the year I had a performance, and then that stopped, and then I met another musician, and so on and on. That was the start of my current Burning Blood family, because then we were Erik Dekker, the didgeridoo player, and me. We were introduced to each other for an evening together, but we didn't know each other. So we were introduced 1 minute before a performance, and it was so nice to do it. I never saw a didgeridoo before. He never saw me and my poetry, and somehow we glued together. So that was another marking point, and that was the real start to go for poetry with other disciplines, art disciplines. So we say, yes, let's continue working together. And when we started to do that, I met another musician and invited him, another musician, I invited her, and then I suggested, let's go and try and to make a full performance with all of us. And that was our first Burning Blood performance for public, with us as musicians and me. And because that was a nice thing, later on I said, well, let's do it again. And then other people came, also a dancer, also a filmer, also a photographer, also a designer, also people who like to make productions. So this whole history with all those marking points led to my current situation, in which this is now the Burning Blood family. And it is a group of, well, actually a group everyone can jump in and out. So we do performances with all of us, or we do performances with whoever is now available. New people come in, all the people step out for a moment because they have a thesis to do or a baby to get or whatever. And then it more or less loosely, but all of it, they belong to this Burning Blood family. And all the time up till now, all our performances always started with my poetry, more around a theme, and then all the other artists come in, and together we co-create our performance, and then we perform it here and there. That is, well, try to do it in a short version. This is all.
That's wonderful. You see, the fact that you're an artist, it shows in the fact that you are so free flowing. There is no particular plan or method as far, that's what I understood from how you spoke about how you grew. So the fact that you grew up in diverse cultures and a lot of mixed ethnicities and backgrounds. So you kind of seamlessly blended in with each of that culture, I'm assuming, as you grew up. So do you think it kind of had an impact on the way you write or the way you think when it comes to your poetry? Did this mixture of culture and ethnicity impact you in any way?
Very interesting question, Poulomi. And I think you're very right. Um, you know, it only is the last so many years that I got more aware of it. It a lot of times, all those years, it just happened. I wasn't aware of it because, well, I don't have to explain to you, but I'm from Asian as well, from the East. So in Asian cultures, it's not about planning all the time. It is more about feeling the streams of life and go along with what happens and then choose your path. And then looking back, you can see, oh, this is the pattern. That's why I did that and that and that. That's why I met that and that. But in the first, well, as zeg je dat? My experience like this, living in the West, it's different from more or less Western cultures. In the West, you plan. Okay, I want to do that. I want to head for this. So looking back, I have to take those steps, and then I go those steps right to my goal. For us, it's, well, we have the starting point, and there is this field. Well, maybe we could do that, and then we travel around like this, and we come also we come, of course, to some goal, but then in a wandering path. So I think indeed what you're saying, that has a lot to do with this mixed cultural influences and things, because when I grew up, it's not only mixed but also migrating all the time. Me as a kid, but my ancestors' generations always that. So when you migrate, you can never root forever. So you always have to improvise, and you make use of what is there. And I think, but only now I'm more aware of that. That's why, indeed, what you're saying, it has this impact, probably.
Right. So, you know, it's very difficult for a child of your age to just jump from one place to the other, because you kind of can't also settle in one particular place mentally. So that kind of also can go wrong, but it worked out for the best for you, because you know you could channelize it in a very positive way. So my next question to you is somewhat related to your mixed ethnicity, the fact that you used to write in Dutch and now you are writing in English. So was that shift a conscious strategic shift, you know, to make people read more and make your poems be understood by more number of people? Or did it just come organically to you because you can think better in English right now?
Oh, yeah, that's also interesting. Yes, true, you're right. Dutch is indeed my mother tongue. So it was naturally to write in Dutch indeed. But Eindhoven as a city is an international city, and it wants to be the brainport. And so this attracts a lot of internationals in the city. And in my job, I had I just pensionated now, but retired now. But before I had for 15 years also my own business. And not only then, but before the 25 years I worked in a paid job always as well, always about diversity. But the last so many years, 10 years, I think, there were a lot, the influx of internationals in Eindhoven were very big, and I was involved in a lot of projects and ideas and programs. So indeed, that was for me the trigger to transform my poems in English to share with internationals as well, something where they can go to and they can understand. And that took over. So now I'm even making poetry directly in English because of that. It's not my native language, but it's a language in which I also thinking in my not perfect English, of course, because it's struggling, but still it's the language which is always there now in my mind, in my heart, in my film.
Right. So, in this context, have you ever thought about writing in Dutch and translating your own poems into English? I mean, you be your translator. So, have you thought in those lines ever?
I did so, yes, indeed. I started with when we first had the English performances, because the Burning Blood group, as you know, is also international. They're from Iran, from India, from
Right,
wherever, Chile, from Turkey, wherever. So the English language is our main language, and I started off with transforming indeed my own Dutch poems into English to start with, and only
right.
now, last 1-2 years, sometimes poems come up directly in English. So, but
Right.
indeed, that was the first things I did. And
That's wonderful.
actually, it's interesting what you're asking, because in translating it, or in transforming a Dutch poem into English, a lot happens. For me, it was as if I got deeper in my own poem, as if I
Okay,
could understand better what I wanted to say, what I was
that's
saying.
lovely.
The other one was just saying it, and okay, I felt it. But now, because I had to know what am I saying and how can I translate it, I got deeper deeper layered in it, and that was interesting. And that was, well, about talking about marking points. Another marking point for me, because of that, because of reciting and saying it by heart, and do it in English, I had to go deeper, or it went deeper, and from deeper it came out. It was indeed
That's that's
impact.
that's really nice. I think a lot of poets who are trying to write in their native language and are getting confused whether they should convert to English. They'll get a very good lesson, if I may, from whatever
Mhm.
you shared right now, so they can think in those lines.
True. Yes. Yes. Nice. Yeah. Very
Yeah.
true. I can relate to that a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So, Carola, when you are writing now, I mean, we got to know who you got inspired from in the beginning and how you started writing poetry. But now we can call you pretty established and pretty sound, if that is the correct word. But then how do you draw inspiration from your surroundings? Do you get inspired by anyone in particular or anything, or you just write in a free flowing manner? What is your source of
Mhm.
inspiration?
The very honorable words of you. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, really, it touched me. It touches me. Um, yes. Well, now that is, I have to really think how this happens. The very first, I was inspired also by other poets, in in the sense that I saw them writing poetry in a way, in a it was no it was it made sorry about my it gave me an idea of poetry as a language. So I
Right.
read that and I thought, that's a way you can say it in a poetical way, and just as a story, as telling somebody. So that was the first thing. Then all my poetry was inspired by, of course, my own reflections, my own history, my own things which I came up with. Um, a lot of rooting, uprooting, saying goodbye, finding your place, that kind of thing. Also about people you meet, and who touch you, and so. And nowadays, I tend to get started whenever there is a reason. So it it's more that people ask me something, or would you like to do this, or there has to be a beginning from outside, actually,
Right.
and then I get started. Just all the way for myself, it happens as well. But then I really have to find myself. Yes, I have to sit down and just let go and come in things. but I'm not quite aware of it. So that's why I'm really struggling to answer your question a little bit.
I know
But
it happens so organically for you that you've never really thought about what inspires you. So
I think that,
that's again
that's
another sign that you're a true artist. You never plan. So,
I think you got it just
so
right. That's indeed the core, I think.
yeah,
Yes.
it
Thank
happens
you.
very organically for you. Like I could understand. You've never really thought as to, where is the source of your poetry, or it just naturally comes to you,
You're
right?
so right. Yes, thank you. This is really, yeah. You just got it. Yeah, that is. I can and
Great.
totally
So,
agree.
yeah. So in this context, the fact that everything comes to you very organically, and right from how you started your poetry to how Burning Blood started, we could see that you really never plan ahead. I mean, you might just plan ahead for the short term, or if you've got a show in your mind, but how you come about that, you don't really plan for that. So,
True.
could you tell us that how Burning Blood grew? Because if we do not have a plan, how is Burning Blood growing? How is
Yeah.
it?
Uh, well, as I said before, it always start with a seed, a small thing. So if something comes up in my mind, and talking about the current Burning Blood group, for instance, I suddenly got in my mind. I don't know why, but something comes up. Oh, maybe we could do this. Shall I do that? And I start talking about my fellow members. What do you think, Eric? Would you like? Shall we go show? Because I got this opportunity in this theater, or I got this opportunity. Maybe it would be nice for the people, something like that. And the moment we say, okay, yes, let's work out some idea. Let's see. Then somehow, indeed, organically, I meet people. Then I see, oh, you're from Iranian musician. Would you like to? Yeah. And then another came. I saw your show. Can I join? Yeah. 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 And that's really how it goes. And for instance, the video with a dancer. That was, for instance, we were working at that moment for the Burning Blood. The show itself was also called Burning Blood, and I had some poems, and we around that musicians and things came up, and also the visual artist, and then also somebody said maybe a dancer, and I said okay, I know some dancer. It's a Brazilian dancer, and I asked her, would you like to? Yes, I would like to join very much. But then she could not. She was not available on our planned performing date. So I thought it would be so nice if we could include you somehow. So would you maybe? I know some other one, this Turkish filmer, and maybe we could make a film. And she said yes. So then we create somehow, because of the circumstances were not that she could be alive with us. We came up with that. When we got this recording that this Turkish film are making, she edited it to really nice screens, and in this theater there were the screens, so that's why we used the screens. And by using the screens, I got this other visual artist, and she got really nice something that relates to us, drawings and paintings. So, well, maybe we can also make some pictures of them. How can we include it? So it started to have two screens for part one, for part two, which happens like that. And that's actually how it goes. So it was not planned. We want to have so many musicians, a dance, and this and this and this. No, we just start, and then we come up with people, and if I have a problem, okay, maybe I know somebody. Oh yes, I know somebody. Oh, I know. Oh, what do you think? Oh, let's do that. And
Brilliant.
so we clay together, mold it into a performance, and the next time, with the next performance, she was able to perform live with us, and then we were very happy with her in the last two performances with her live. And then others came in, and yes, that's actually the way it always starts with my, if up till now it always starts with my just idea which has come into my mind. Oh, maybe we can. And it's also always because there's an opportunity, maybe audience, maybe theater, maybe some I know people, and oh, let's do something together. That's actually how
Right.
it works. Yeah.
In the fibers of his clouded voice, I hear the strings of his childhood. Though I cannot understand the meaning of the words in a language which is not mine, it somehow catches in the mesmerizing sound. An echo of long gone past times from a subterranean source. It makes me trail down along his pulling pole on a large trip to my own forebears of the Far East. They are hushing me to come closer and closer, waiting for me to finally resynchronize my heartbeat with the essence of our inner heritage. Just like a singing bird whizzing by, capturing your attention, inviting you to an unpursued destination where somehow you belong.
That's brilliant. I mean, people of our age, you know, we cannot really think of going about it without a plan. But then again, we have a lot to learn from this. So if it's spontaneous and if it grows, we should just let it. I mean, that's brilliant. So, when you write a poem and when you read it out, versus when you are performing that very poem through burning blood, with music and dancers, and when you're breaking the fourth wall and audience are getting involved and there are screens and everything. So do you think that the same poem have you ever experienced it, that it is being interpreted in two different ways, in a different way when you're reading it versus a different way when you're performing it? And do you think one method is better than the other, or they're just two equally beautiful separate methods? I mean, have you ever experienced anything like that?
Yeah, that is also a very interesting question. I think it's indeed different, true, because it really has been influenced by others. When I do it on my own or just with with Eric with the didgeridoo or whatever, then we just jump in. We come together and we jump in, and it is as if we do our fingers in the energy field, and it just comes there. But when we do it in a performance, we have to rehearse more and create more and know some people really want to know what to do because they want to rehearse their music or their dance. Others say, well, it's okay, I jump in. So for me, it was indeed different to do it, and because we had to go through it more and more and more, I think also the meaning became deeper. And I tend to do it more by heart. Otherwise, I also read aloud, and then of course I tell, but have the reading with me. But in telling more by heart, I think it also goes deeper because you're more it's more, I'm more into my own words then, probably.
Right.
So indeed, there is a difference, and I like both actually. I also like to jump in with my musicians, because that's also very it's very challenging as well. It's surprising. It surprises because, well, we just go on and we know it will be okay, but
Yeah,
we just
right.
very connected with each other in this energy field. So also in the other one, but that is more also we have to structure that more.
That's rehearsed. That's a little
Yeah,
rehearsed
true,
versus this
true.
is in the beginning when you spoke about how you started writing, and that you mentioned something very interesting, that there was a lot of letter writing. There were a lot of letters. So I'm assuming that since there were a lot of writing, there was also a lot of reading back in your age, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that people our age read as much as you used to read at their age? Or, if is there kind of a version to lengthy reading, or maybe since there is, videos, they grasp attention very fast. So
Yeah.
people would want to watch rather than read. So do you think there is anything that, I mean, I might be wrong, but do you feel the same way? If you do, then what do you think can inspire our generation to read more? Because I think
Mhm.
that's lacking.
Yeah, you're so right. Well, in those olden times, it was the only way, handwritten. And when you write handwritten, you take time. Every word has to really be written by hand. And if you read it, it's every word you read. So that is indeed different from the time now, where there's so many coming in, and especially images and moving, and so you have it's you really have to find your way as an auditor or a visitor, to find and choose all the time where you have to you put your focus. It's very much more difficult to focus, I think, for young people now. And then focus on you're so right, focus on a video is colorful, it's moving, it is music, it's more interesting than sitting down with a book and have this slow pace getting in the letters. And so I think it is so much more a challenge. But I also think that because of these times of the COVID times, where people get locked in, and you see a tendency of people go into themselves, into their house, into themselves, and we're forced to take more time and find also other ways to, yeah, to get inspired, I think, and whatever. So maybe in these times, the need for a standstill and take time, maybe not hours, but just to take time and to I really experience the magic of making images into your head, because of just letters like this. Actually, it
Yeah,
is a magical thing, but you have to
right.
experience it. For a lot of people, it's a thick book. Oh no, how on earth?
Yes.
Well, and it's not inspiring in that way, not
Mm.
inviting, I mean. But I think it is about and also the new, like the spoken word and the other forms, they're very interesting as well. It's also about words and about telling. But I really think that uh, at least keep the storytelling uh, concepts, or whatever you call it, in which you just can focus by listening or by reading on words, without a lot of extra things, but just go into the words of someone, into the story of someone. Yes, I really do think that people have to be invited to experience it, young people as well, to
Right.
want to more. And then if you like it, then you say, oh yes, I like it more. But if you don't like
Right.
it, yeah, that's, I think
Maybe I might be interested in knowing what your book looks like, and then if you just show it up on the, yes. So this is what distant dreaming looks like. It looks very beautiful.
yeah, that's what you mean, yeah.
This looks very beautiful. Carola, could we have you recite one of your works for us today?
Oh, this is good. You see the family here, family pictures.
Okay, right.
This is from the artist, the visual artist work. And the filmer designer, she helped me with designing the book.
Brilliant.
So you wish now to pick one of the poems and read it for you?
Yes, you just go ahead with whatever you think you should read right now. Whichever is very close to your heart. I mean, all of them are very close to your heart, but if you could pick one organically, like you never planned.
You're really, I like that. Okay. When we go organically, then oh, I love that. Oh, maybe this one. Then I maybe the first one, just
For sure.
because that is about for introduction. It's a poem about my great grandmother. I never have known her, but also my grandmother has not known her because she died when giving birth to my grandmother in Sumatra, in Indonesia.
Yes.
She was from Sulawesi. So, and my grandmother grew up with her grandmothers in Java. So nobody knows even her name. What was her name? What is her history? There should be a lot of family there in Sulawesi, but we don't know her. But still, she is there, of course, because she gave birth to my grandmother, which was her fourth child.
Oh.
And my grandmother was giving birth to my mother, and so forth. So, as once I had made this poem about her and her being in me, kind of.
That's beautiful.
The woman who gave birth to my grandma is now watching over my inner fire. Nobody knows her name. Nobody knows where she is from. Nobody knows where she is now. My grandma's mother. Ever since, dry wind is raging over burning land. That woman whose name nobody knows and nobody remembers keeps the ashes glistening for what has been broken. Flames are flaring up. Wood blocks are cracking down. When she sits on the soil, her sarong touches the warm earth around her feet. She reads the fire intensely. Her mouth is curling into itself. Troubling thoughts and worrying confusion feed her sad mind. I feel her glow. She guards our blood. My old grandmother, who lives on in me, because apparently that is how it goes, even when you have lost your name.
Wow, that's absolutely magical. Carola, that's absolutely magical.
Thank you.
I mean, I wish, all the other grandmas, if they're hearing, they wish they'd have a granddaughter like you so that they would be remembered in such
Thank
a
you so much.
beautiful way. We got her essence when you kind of read it out. So it was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you
this
so
with
much.
us.
Yeah.
I
Thank you
really
so
had
much.
gooseflesh listening to it. So I had goosebumps listening to it. So it was brilliant.
Thank you so much
So
for welcoming the poems in your heart as well. Thank you so much.
thank
Yeah.
you for your time. You're such a busy person. You chose to speak with us. So thank you so much. It meant a lot to all of us.
It
And
really was my
hopefully,
pleasure. My honor as well. I really felt honored.
thank you so much. So I'm sure, we can get to know you more through your writings and your poetry and your performances. So I'm really looking forward to a few links that you sent to me, and I'm going to watch them. I'm looking forward to them.
Thank you so much. We'll